Chapter 24. I pressed myself against the floor. Spencer ducked beside me. He squinted up at the lights moving across the wall. I heard Cassie's shallow breaths muffled against Jordan's shirt as he held her. The headlights inched over the wall. Someone was pulling into Mr. Krause's driveway. Lenny began crawling to the window. He raised himself on his knees and peered outside. "It's not the police," he whispered. "It's someone pulling into the driveway next door." I felt so relieved. I wanted to shout for joy, but we all kept still while the people climbed out of the car and went inside. We heard car doors slamming. Finally, Lenny whispered that they had gone inside. "We have to be more careful than ever," Spencer warned. "Those people could look across the driveway and see us." We started searching again for the can. Spencer wouldn't let us turn on any lights because of the neighbors. We hunted in the dark, feeling around on the floor, the window ledges, under furniture. Nothing. I stumbled into Cassie in the dark. She backed into a coffee table and sent a tiny glass Christmas tree crashing to the floor. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. "What are we going to do?" she wailed. "Calm down," I whispered. "As soon as we find the paint can, we can leave." "Forget it. We have to leave without the can," Spencer cried. "We can't stay here any longer." He pushed Cassie toward the window with one hand and yanked me along with the other. His grip was so strong. "Spencer," I squealed, "you're hurting me." "Sorry, Diane," Spencer replied breathlessly. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Will you two shut up and help me find the can?" Lenny barked. "I can't leave without it." "Here it is," Jordan shouted. "I found it." We all turned to see him swoop down and reach under the Christmas tree. He stood up, waving the spray paint can. "Come on," he ordered. "Let's move." We tumbled through the open window and sprinted through Mr. Krause's backyard. I climbed over the fence so quickly that I stumbled and scraped my hand. Before I even felt the pain, I was running again. In the distance, a siren sounded. I stopped for a second. Fear gripped me, but Cassie pushed me ahead. I started running again, but my legs felt like lead. I couldn't make them move any faster. I tried to push myself. I felt a burning pain in my side. It hurt more with each breath. A couple of blocks later, Jordan tried to jump a fence and fell flat on his face. Lenny and Spencer never missed a step. They yanked him back onto his feet and charged off. My leg muscles burned. My lungs felt as if they might burst. The wind brought tears to my eyes. Fear drove me on. Finally, we reached my house. I whispered good night and started to sneak into the house. I heard the squeal of brakes from around the corner. I ducked down into the bushes as a car roared by. Was it the police rushing to Mr. Krause's house? Did one of the neighbors see us climb out of his window? I peered between the bushes, trying to see the car. My breath caught in surprise. Not the police. A blue Toyota. Brian owned a blue Toyota. I squinted hard, but I couldn't get a good look at the driver. Still, I knew Brian's car. I had been in it enough to remember what it looked like, even in the dark. What was Brian doing out so late at night? Spying on us? So he could blackmail us with more phone calls and threatening notes? I pushed the questions from my mind. Feeling exhausted, I sneaked into my house and crept up to my room. The warmth of my bedroom made me realize how cold I felt. My hands seemed like 2 chunks of ice. My fingertips stung. I tried to move my toes, but I had no feeling in my feet. I sat down on my bed, still struggling to catch my breath. I wrapped myself in the thick down quilt. I should never have gone out with Lenny tonight, I told myself. We should have stopped before the night games got totally out of control, before Mr. Krause was murdered. I undressed quickly and pulled on a big t-shirt to sleep in. I tossed and turned all night. For hours, I stared at the dark books lining the shelves above my desk. I kept picturing Lenny as he painted Mr. Krause's books. I kept hearing Lenny's excited laughter. I glanced at the alarm clock. 4 o'clock in the morning, and the questions never ended. What if someone saw us at Mr. Krause's house? Would we be accused of killing him? Someone knew about our night games. That person could tell the police. The police would never believe we didn't kill the teacher. The phone rang at 7 o'clock. I rolled over and grabbed it. "Did you hear the radio?" Cassie cried without saying hello. "They found him." I almost dropped the phone. I swallowed hard. "Found Mr. Krause?" I choked out. "Didn't you hear the news?" Cassie cried. Chapter 25. "Tell me," I demanded. "What did they say?" "Mr. Krause's housekeeper found him this morning," Cassie reported. "The police said he died of a heart attack." I leaned back against my pillows and gasped with relief. "Huh? He had a bad heart?" I cried. "This means we're safe. They don't think someone killed him." Wrong? They do, Cassie replied. A wave of dread quickly washed over me again. Lenny was such a jerk for spray painting the walls, Cassie continued. The police think an intruder broke in and scared Mr. Crowell to death. I gasped. We're all in so much trouble, Cassie wailed, and all because of Lenny. Do you think it's true? I asked. What? That we scared Mr. Crowell and made him have a heart attack? She didn't reply. Cassie? I don't know, Diane. I really don't. Neither of us spoke. They're having an assembly today to honor Mr. Crowell, Cassie told me. The idea of listening to speeches about Mr. Crowell all afternoon made my stomach queasy. I took a deep breath, hoping the nausea would go away. It didn't. Cassie, I murmured, I won't be in school today. I hung up and rushed for the bathroom. Diane, you look awful, Mom cried when I finally made my way downstairs. Do you have the flu? I wish, I told myself. The flu will be gone in a couple of days, but my real troubles will hang around a lot longer. Mom made me go to bed. I buried myself under the covers, as if the blankets would shield me from the awful truth. None of my friends phoned me all day or evening. I think each one of us was in shock. Besides, there was nothing to talk about. Mr. Crowell was dead, and we might be responsible. Still, it made me nervous that nobody called. My parents went out as soon as Dad came home from work. They had tickets to a play downtown. Mom felt bad leaving me, but I was happy. I needed to be alone. I sat on the couch in the den, wrapped in a blanket. Dad rented a videotape for me. Anything to take my mind off Mr. Crowell. The opening credits had just flashed by when someone knocked on the door. I jumped at the sound. I won't answer, I decided. But the knocking continued. Somebody pounded on the front door as if he or she wanted to break it down. I clutched the blanket around me with icy fingers and slowly walked to the door. As I reached it, the pounding stopped. I ran into the living room and peered out a window that faced the porch. No one on the front porch. I ran back to the door and opened it a crack. I looked around carefully, just to make sure. Not a soul in sight. Frowning, I stepped outside. No one in the front yard. I looked out at the street. I didn't see any parked cars either. I pulled the blanket up around me and turned back to the door. Then I saw it. A rolled-up sheet of paper propped against the porch railing. With trembling fingers, I picked up the paper and carried it inside. I slammed the door shut and flipped all the locks. I slowly unrolled the paper. The sheet was long, like a banner. As I carefully spread it out, my pulse sped up to double time. Words spray-painted in red letters. Terrifying words. You die next. Chapter 26. The words blurred in front of my eyes. The letters were thick, drippy, like drops of blood on snow. I rolled up the paper and stumbled to the phone. First I called Cassie, then Lenny. Cassie's mother told me Cassie was on her way to my house. Lenny's brother said the same thing. When I hung up, they were both on the front porch. They both held rolled-up notes, just like mine. Cassie unrolled her paper on my kitchen table. The same threats, the same spray paint, and the same handwriting. Do you recognize the writing? Lenny asked. We didn't. Lenny slammed his fist into the wall. Who is doing this? He cried. You tell us, Cassie answered nastily. You don't still think it's Mr. Crowell, do you? He ignored her sarcastic remark. Do you have any idea, Diane? He asked. When I got home last night, I'm positive I saw Brian drive by, I told him. Lenny and Cassie stared at me without saying anything. I continued. Brian drives a blue Toyota. It was his car, I'm sure of it. He could have been spying on us. But why would he send us these notes? Cassie demanded. What would he hope to gain? Lenny sighed. Maybe he's just twisted. We need to find out if Jordan got one of these too, I said. I glanced at Cassie. Do you know where he is? She shook her head. I called him when I got my note, but his mom said he was over at a friend's house working on a science project. I don't know who. Let's go look for him, I suggested, rolling up my banner. Lenny had his mother's car with him. We piled in and drove into town. We cruised up and down Division Street twice. Then we stopped at the mall and searched there. Finally, we spotted Jordan's Jeep parked outside the corner, a hangout near school. It's about time, Lenny muttered, pulling open the door to the restaurant. I stopped short. I expected to see Jordan. I never expected to see him sitting with Brian. They shared the same booth and the same plate of greasy fries. Jordan leaned across the table, deep in conversation with Brian, talking in low voices. They didn't even notice that we stood in the doorway. My mind reeled. Jordan and Brian had never been good friends. Why would they hang out together now? What did they have to say to each other? Whoa, wait, I thought. Does Brian know about our night games because Jordan told him? What were they planning? Why would Jordan do this to us? I stalked over to their table. What are you doing with Brian? I demanded. Jordan jumped. They both looked at me in surprise. What's your problem, Diane? Jordan snapped. We're lab partners in chemistry. Aren't we allowed to discuss our project? Brian snapped. Or do you want me to stay away from all your friends, too? You are acting weird, Diane, Jordan put in. Why are you so upset? We were all in huge trouble because of the night games, and Jordan couldn't guess why I was upset? You found the spray paint can last night, I told Jordan. So, he answered, what about it? I pulled the rolled up note from my pocket and slammed it onto the table. I spread it out so both of them could see the threatening message. Today, we all got these horrible spray-painted notes, I explained. You sent them, didn't you? Jordan snorted. He casually sipped his soda. Well, I practically shouted. Did you? Did you send these threats? A few kids in the next booth turned to stare at us. Jordan's gaze left from me to Cassie to Lenny and then back to me. All right, Diane, he said. You guessed it. It was me. I sent the notes. Chapter 27. Jordan scowled. I painted the notes, he admitted, and I strangled Mr. Crow with my bare hands, too. I'm also the Easter Bunny. Brian chuckled. Jordan leaned toward me. Diane, I thought we were friends, he said angrily. How could you accuse me? The spray paint can, I replied. The notes are all spray painted, and you had the can. Jordan's eyes blazed. I don't have the dumb can, Diane. Spencer grabbed it away from me before we ran home. My mouth dropped open. Are you telling us the truth? Lenny asked. Jordan frowned at Lenny. So now you think I'm a liar, too? He shook his head. Some bunch of friends. I drew a deep breath. Jordan was right. We should all trust one another. We have been friends for years. I guess we jumped to conclusions, I apologized. I jumped to conclusions. I'm scared, but I didn't mean to blame you. Jordan shrugged. No big deal, Diane. It's a weird time for all of us. For sure, Lenny agreed. Sorry, Jordan. I just sort of lost it for a second. But what about Spencer? Cassie asked. If he took the spray can, do you think he wrote the notes? Jordan shook his head. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's a joke, Lenny put in. Great joke, Cassie sighed. Let's go find Spencer, I suggested. We can all figure this out together. Jordan nodded and stood up. He turned to Brian. Do you want to come? He asked. Brian didn't even glance at me. He held up his hands and shook his head. Leave me out of it, he announced. I don't want anything to do with your games. I'm not getting dragged into this. He got up and walked out without saying goodbye. Cassie turned to me. Guess he doesn't want you back that much, she joked. Cassie climbed into Jordan's Jeep, and Lenny and I followed them to Spencer's house. I never meant for Mr. Crowell to die, Diane, Lenny said, keeping his eyes straight ahead on the road. I want you to know that. I sighed. I know. I wish we had never started playing these night games. We pulled up and parked behind the Jeep. We all got out and stood on the sidewalk. Spencer's house looked deserted. No lights anywhere. No car in the driveway. A loose window shutter creaked and groaned as it rocked back and forth on its hinges. The sound sent shivers down my spine. This place could use some work, I muttered. What a wreck. We trudged through the leaves to the front door. Lenny rapped hard. We waited for a few seconds. No answer. Where is he? I said, frustrated. We all need to talk about this. I pulled away from Lenny. I walked to the front window and pressed my face against the glass. I peered inside but saw nothing but darkness. Then the room slowly came into focus. Oh no! I let out a horrified wail. Diane, what's wrong? Cassie called from the front stoop. I didn't answer her. I slid open the window and climbed through. The others piled in behind me. It felt like a freezer inside. No heat. The living room was totally empty. No couch, no chairs, no furniture at all. Spencer lay sprawled face down on the wooden floor in the center of the room, his head twisted to one side. He didn't move. Cassie screamed. Jordan gasped and pulled back. Lenny swore under his breath. Spencer? I cried. Spencer? Spencer? I ran to him and dropped to my knees. I picked up his hand. It felt spongy and cold, lifeless. He's dead, I whispered. Spencer is dead. Chapter 28. He's dead, I repeated, the words hanging in the cold, bare room. The two boys huddled together, shock frozen on their faces. Cassie crouched in a corner. I dropped Spencer's hand and stood up. The room seemed to spin around me. I don't believe this, Cassie wailed. First Mr. Crow, now Spencer. Which one of us will be next? How did we get ourselves into this? She sobbed. Jordan hugged her tightly, trying to calm her down. What should we do? I asked Lenny. Call the police? He shook his head. If we call them, we'll have to tell them everything about the night games and Mr. Crow. We'll be charged with murder, and no one will believe we didn't do it. Well, what then? I replied. Do we run away and pretend we don't know anything? Lenny shrugged. Whoever killed Spencer is coming for us next, he said. Maybe we should run away. I turned away from him, struggling to think straight. My gaze fell on Spencer's body. How long had he been lying here in this dark, empty place? Try the light switch, I told Lenny. He flipped the switch. Nothing. Lenny opened the bedroom door and peered into the shadows beyond. He disappeared down the hallway, his footsteps growing softer until I couldn't hear them. Where do you think Spencer's parents are? Jordan asked. I don't know, I answered. I guess they're not home. Lenny burst through the door, his eyes wide. Not home, he repeated. I don't think they're even in the same state. What? I cried. Lenny jabbed a thumb toward the hall. This whole house is empty. No furniture, no electricity, nothing. It's like a freezer in here, Jordan added. How did Spencer stand it? Cassie coughed again. I told you Spencer changed, she reminded us. Living in an abandoned house only proves it. Do you think we should try to find his parents? I turned back to Spencer. How did he die? I asked. I don't know, Lenny replied. It doesn't look like he was in a fight or anything. Then what happened? I wondered. Does it matter? Cassie wailed. He's dead. We have to do something. Maybe he's only unconscious, Jordan stammered. We didn't check a pulse or anything. Don't be ridiculous, I snapped. Of course he's dead. You're right, Diane, whispered a raspy voice. Huh? I gasped, and turned in time to see Spencer roll over and slowly sit up. A strangled scream stuck in my throat. Spencer's blank eyes stared into mine. I'm dead, he whispered. You're right, Diane. I'm really dead. Chapter 29. Cassie screamed and pressed her hands to her face. Lenny and Jordan backed up against the bare wall. I couldn't move. I stood, stunned, and watched Spencer float up off the floor. He spun around in the air, hovered about 2 feet off the floor. His long hair floated around his head like silver-white cobwebs. He spread his arms wide and his mouth opened, an ugly black hole. He let out a ghoulish, bone-chilling laugh. It's a joke, my mind screamed, a horrible trick. But I couldn't see any wires holding him up. Spencer floated closer to me. Cold air radiated off him. Moonlight streamed through the window, lighting up Spencer's decayed skin, his sunken eyes, his evil grin. Floating off the floor, Spencer stared down at me. No more games, Diane, he rasped in his dry, dead voice. No more night games. No games. I'm really dead. You killed me. Huh? What are you talking about? I shrieked. I didn't kill you. Yes, you did, Spencer cried. He flew across the room and hung in a dim corner, pointing a bony, accusing finger at the 4 of us. You all did. You killed me last year at the cabin. Spencer? I started. All of you killed me, Spencer repeated. You left me to die. You packed me under the snow and left me there. And I smothered in the snow. His blank eyes returned to me. You could have helped me, Diane. I thought you were my friend. I was your friend, Spencer, I choked out. No, you weren't, he screamed. Friends don't let friends die, Diane. You could have stopped them, but you didn't. He floated over me. An awful odor filled my nostrils. I coughed and covered my mouth. What was he talking about? We didn't kill him. It had just been a stupid game, a snowball fight. We didn't kill him. Did we? Suddenly, I wasn't so sure. Did we do something terrible and not realize it? If you're not dead, how can you be here? I demanded. Spencer dropped to the floor. My hatred kept me here, he rasped. After I died, I climbed out of the snow. It took me a long time to realize what happened, but my hatred for you all kept me here in Shadyside. He slid closer to me. It kept me here long enough to pay you back, long enough to scare you to death. I gasped. You killed Mr. Crow. You killed him, didn't you? I gave him a heart attack, he confessed. It was part of my plan. What plan? I whispered. I convinced you to come play the night games, Spencer explained. I knew you couldn't resist. It was my turn to play a game on you, on all of you. Spencer twirled around in the air. He came to a sudden stop. I had so much fun, he rasped, watching you all get more and more scared from my calls and notes. Why didn't you just kill us? I cried. What kind of game is that? Spencer demanded. Then, without warning, he grabbed me. Now the game is over, he cried. Now I'm going to kill you, the way you killed me. I tried to pull away, but he was too strong. You're my favorite, Diane, he said, so you die first. I screamed, and then I couldn't make another sound. His bony hands tightened around my throat. I pushed at his hands. He squeezed tighter, tighter. I twisted and punched him with my fists. He didn't seem to feel my punches. Now this is fun, really fun, Diane, he held at me. I clawed at his strong fingers, tried to pry them away. A rushing sound filled my ears. I couldn't breathe. No air. No air. I felt as if my lungs were about to burst, and then I didn't care anymore. I sank into a comforting sea of black. Chapter 30. No, Diane, I heard my own voice, scolding myself. No, Diane, you can't die now. Hold on, Diane, hold on. Out of the deep, deep blackness, an idea came to me. With my last strength, I threw my arms around Spencer. The creepy, rubbery feel of his decaying body made me shiver. I hugged him hard. I ignored the sour, putrid smell. I ignored the cold sponginess of his skin. I hugged him harder. His eyes widened in surprise. He loosened his grip around my throat. I swallowed air, coughed, struggled to breathe. Spencer's dry, raspy voice filled the room. What are you doing? He demanded. I forced myself to speak. I'm hugging you, I told him. I like you, Spencer. I've always liked you. His fingers relaxed more. I took another deep breath. You said I was your favorite, I whispered. I'm hugging you, Spencer. His grip eased on my throat, enough for me to turn my head, to signal to my friends. Cassie moved quickly up to Spencer. She put her arms around him. What are you doing? He shrieked, trying to push us off. We're hugging you, Spencer, I repeated. We like you. No, he screeched. Get away from me. Get away. I need my hatred. I need my hatred to keep me here. I could barely breathe, but I kept hugging him. I forced myself to stroke his back, touch his hair. So disgusting. I wanted to retch, but I forced myself to hug him. Lenny and Jordan joined Cassie and me. They put their arms around Spencer. They hugged him. We all held on, hugging him, hugging him. No, Spencer wailed. No, let go of me. I need my hatred. I hugged him harder. We missed you, Spencer, I whispered. We missed you so much. You're our friend, Lenny whispered, hugging Spencer tightly. You're our friend, and we love you, I whispered. We love you. And as I whispered, I felt Spencer's shoulders soften, felt his cold skin grow warm, warm and wet, like melting snow. I felt a shiver run through his body. I held on, hugging him, feeling him soften and melt. Yes, he was melting away, melting like snow in the spring, melting, melting. Goodbye, Spencer, I whispered, and stepped back as his body melted to the floor. We all stepped back then, and gazed down at the wet blue puddle on the dark floor, the puddle glistening in the gray light from the window, and then the puddle vanished too. The four of us stared down at the bare floor, and then raised our eyes joyfully to each other. He's gone, Cassie murmured. It's over, Lenny cried. Jordan let out a shout of happiness and relief. Cassie and Lenny joined in, jumping up and down, shouting and crying and doing a wild dance of celebration. I wanted to join in, but I felt so cold. My teeth chattered. I hugged myself, trying to get warm, trying to draw another deep breath, but I couldn't, because I was dead. In that instant, that cold, cold moment, I realized I was dead. Spencer had killed me. Spencer had strangled me. My friends celebrated happily, and I was dead. It's not fair, I thought bitterly, watching them dance and hug each other. Why should they be alive while I am dead? Lenny came over, flashing his grin wide. He hugged me, but I felt only cold, bitter cold. A few minutes ago, he stood there and watched Spencer kill me. All three of them stood there and watched me die. They didn't move. They didn't help. And now they wanted to celebrate. I stared at Lenny. I let him hug me, but I didn't feel a thing. Should I tell them? I wondered. Should I tell them that I'm dead now? Or should I wait and play some games of my own? This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Night Games by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street novel, Book 40. Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and thank you for joining me for my production of Night Games by R.L. Stine from the Fear Street series. What is going on here? How did this turn into a supernatural story all of a sudden? First off, Lenny, he's a huge jerk. Yeah, he got jealous when he saw Spencer and Diane kissing, but Spencer invited everyone out to his uncle's cabin to go skiing, and Lenny invited himself. And poor Spencer is like, why is this guy here? I don't like him. And I can understand that. He wanted to get to know Diane a bit better without Lenny being around, so he invites everyone but Lenny to go skiing at his uncle's cabin. And that's great. What a good idea. Spencer didn't have the confidence or the idea to move in or steal Diane away from Lenny. He just wanted to get to know her better. And then Lenny goes and invites himself, sees them kissing, punches Spencer out, and then in retaliation, they have a snowball fight the next day, and Spencer's like, you know what? I'm going to fix this jerk. He grabs the snowballs, makes them into ice balls, and starts decking Lenny and Jordan right in the face. So they come over and they confront Spencer, then they bury him in the snow, then they get in the car and they leave? I thought that was terrible. It reminds me of The Snowman, another story about R.L. Stine where someone gets buried alive in the snow. I think R.L. Stine has a thing about suffocation in cold environments. If you liked this, you should like The Snowman. I recommend that you check that out. But anyway, they just drive away and they leave Spencer buried in the snow. And they're like, oh, he's just teasing. He can get out if he wants. Yeah, like everyone likes to be super cold with snow jammed down your mouth and in your socks and shoes. You're just playing a game, right? It's all fun and games, right? So no wonder Spencer lost all this weight when he came back to Shadyside. And he came back because he died in the snow. He suffocated to death. He used his hatred to come back and get revenge. I don't understand that about Diane and Lenny's relationship either. They stayed together for a full year after that incident. So Diane was okay with Lenny and Jordan burying Spencer in the snow? That didn't say red flag to you? Like, this guy has issues? That didn't say anything to Cassie about Jordan? Like, he goes along with a guy that has issues? And isn't it weird how no one heard from Spencer for a full year? No one checked on him, no one called, no one said, hey man, are you okay? Sorry about that, things got kind of out of hand. No one followed up with him? No one said, hey, thanks for inviting us out to your uncle's cabin to go skiing? Nothing? That's weird. The night games themselves were kind of lame. Scaring the couple that was making out in a car, that was funny. Smashing Mr. Krau's ornaments, that was okay. Breaking into his house and we're just going to move things around. We're going to creep him out but not really do anything. That was kind of weird. And then this thing at the end where everyone is getting spray painted notes, and because Jordan had the spray paint can, therefore it's him, and he's the one who's making out these notes. So everyone goes and finds him and Brian at the corner, and they're like, hey man, you had the spray paint can, therefore it's your notes. Is there only one spray paint can in all of Shadyside? In all the home improvement stores? The houses on Fear Street are ramshackle and in dire need of repair, and these guys are going on about a single spray can? Okay, that's the only spray can in all of Shadyside. It's even the same color, too, so therefore it must be Spencer. Therefore we have to just run over to his house and find him. Like, where's the logic in that? I didn't think that Spencer was dead until he floated up off the floor and turned into a ghoul and attacked Diane. Because I thought that the house was so cold that he would seem to be dead. People can get extremely cold, and your pulse rate lowers so low that when you get your pulse taken by a paramedic or something, they may mistake you for being dead. This happened several times in history where people were accidentally buried alive because their pulse rate was so low that the doctor or whoever was administering care wasn't able to detect the pulse, so they pronounced the patient dead and then the person is buried alive. This has happened. I thought that was something like this. No, it wasn't. Spencer's really been a ghoul all along. That explains his severe weight loss. That explains why his personality's so weird and twisted. And that explains why now all of a sudden he has powers and he tries to kill Diane. See, I don't think Diane dies, though. I think it's so cold in the room that her own body temperature plummeted, and she was standing so close to Spencer and he's trying to choke her out, that made her feel cold, and then when she hugged him and everyone else hugged him to try to get him to resolve his hatred for them, because hatred can't exist when love is present, and then Spencer melts into a puddle on the floor, and he passes on to wherever it is that ghosts go when their business on Earth is concluded. I think she was so cold that she thinks that she's dead, and she's so angry at everyone about all the events that transpired that she sees them for the people that they really are, that Lenny is really a huge jerk, and that Jordan just goes along with it, and Cassie's no better because she's involved with them too, and Diane herself, she's disgusted at herself, and she gets really, really cold. I think she's furious, and it's so cold in the house, and by her hugging Spencer, and she was so close to him that she thinks that she's dead. So I don't think that she's really dead. I think she's just confused. Do I recommend this story? Not really. It's very middling. It's an okay story until the very end when the supernatural stuff kicks in. But you gotta hand it to R.L. Stine. I didn't know where the story was going to go until chapter 28. I'm like checking the end of the book going, is this going to end? Is this really going to end? How will this end? Because I don't know. It's clearly not Brian. It can't be Jordan. What's going to happen at Spencer's house? I surely didn't expect a supernatural ending. I guess ghosts, ghouls, and monsters are just all over Fear Street, and you don't know who you're sitting next to on the bus. So what should I read next? I don't know. Send me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I'm also at home right here on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the join button to show your support. Any help is greatly appreciated. I really, really, truly do mean that. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.